Hi, I'm Kathy Sweedler from University of Illinois Extension, and I'm happy to have this opportunity to talk to you today about choosing a financial professional. A lot of us in our different times in our lives come across a point where we think to ourselves, you know, I would really like to have a second opinion on how I'm doing something with my finances. And I'd like to talk to an expert about it, a financial professional. But it can also be a little bit scary to go out and think about, how do I choose a financial professional? Where will I find somebody that I can trust, that has the credentials and the background that are important, so that I know that I'm getting what I need in terms of advice? So what I'd like to do today is talk to you about the whole process of choosing a financial professional, cover some of the different things that you can ask people, hopefully provide you with enough information that you feel comfortable going out and talking and asking these questions to financial professionals. And then talking about a concept called fiduciary, which is important when you're choosing a financial professional. And then also I'm going to introduce you to some tools that are provided by University of Illinois Extension and let you know where you can get these tools if you decide that you want to talk to a financial professional about your money. So when would be these times that you might want to talk to a financial professional? What might trigger that? What we know is that often for people that times of transition are important, and that may be a time when you think to yourself, now would be a good time to talk to somebody. Perhaps you're getting married, or you've received, you're starting a new job and you're moving to a new place. Or maybe you've inherited some money or received a lump sum of money for one reason or another. These might be times where you would say to yourself, now is a good time to really sit down, look at my financial situation, and take some steps. It could be also that you need assistance with a specific financial service. Maybe you are self-employed and you need some help with taxes, and you would like to find a financial professional who specializes in helping people do their taxes who are self-employed. It could also be that you find that you're just too busy, or you don't like to manage your finances, and so you want to make sure that your investments for retirement are on track, and you would like actually somebody else to help you with it because you can see that it's just not happening, you're not doing it. And for a lot of people, they find that what they need is for a financial professional who can look at all of our personal goals and help us see overall how we can use our money to help us reach those different financial goals. These are all different scenarios where you might think using a financial professional would help me now. And there could be other reasons that would come up that would make a lot of sense in your life as well. So let's say that you're at a point in your life where you say, yes, now I want to talk to a financial professional, but how do we go about starting that process? How do we find somebody? And it can be very confusing because there are a lot of different titles out there that financial professionals use. And some of those titles tell us something, and some of them don't tell us as much. And so what do we really know about them? So perhaps we see somebody is titled CPA or Certified Financial Planner or a variety of other types of titles that are out there. Can we look at the title and know what that person does? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. For example, you may have heard the title financial planner. This is a very common designation that financial professionals use, and in a lot of ways, financial planner sometimes means that that person is more inclined to take a look at somebody's overall financial situation and come up with a comprehensive financial plan that takes into account their tax situation, their retirement plans, their insurance needs, all of these different elements pulled together. But financial planner is not a legally defined term. It isn't one of those terms where you have to have certain credentials or education or experience to use. Anybody can call themselves a financial planner. So in this situation, knowing that somebody calls themselves a financial planner isn't really enough information. You need to dig down and ask questions to find out more about that person. There are two titles that are defined by law, and this can help us when we start exploring for financial professionals. One of these titles is investment advisor. An investment advisor tends to give advice about securities, and they may manage a client's investments. So if somebody has a large portfolio of different investment options. They could ask the investment advisor to manage this money and to help them make decisions and buy and sell different investments. A broker typically focuses more on buying and selling securities for the clients, and that's their main focus. Now, those titles are defined by law, and different credentials are needed to be an investment advisor or a broker, different certifications. But again, it only takes us so far. Because, for example, a financial planner could also be an investment advisor, or a financial planner could be a broker, or a financial planner might not be either one. So it gives us a little bit of information, but doesn't quite get us all the way there. Let's take time now to think a little bit more then about a concept that can help us. And this concept is the concept of a fiduciary. This is a very important concept because it helps us understand some of the differences between different kinds of financial professionals. A financial professional who is a fiduciary is someone who must legally put your best interests first, even before his or her own interests. So, for example, a fiduciary professional is going to need to think about, when they're talking to you, which investment option would be really the best one for you to get into, and not just which one would be suitable. A fiduciary professional who's giving you advice about investments must also legally tell you their qualifications, how they're paid, any potential conflicts of interest that they might have in regards to the advice that they're giving you, and if there's been any disciplinary actions against them. So, who is a fiduciary, and what does that really mean for us? We talked about those two legally defined terms, investment advisor and a broker. Well, here's one of the differences to keep in mind. An investment advisor does have a fiduciary responsibility to their clients. They must recommend investments that are best for you. Now, a broker currently does not have a fiduciary responsibility to you. So they must recommend suitable investments. They may also, though, as long as they're giving you information about suitable investments, consider any bonuses or commissions that they might receive upon if you chose to purchase one of those investments. Is this fiduciary term only limited to financial professionals? No. If you think about it, we talk to other people in our lives who have fiduciary responsibilities. For example, doctors. When we go to see a physician and we're talking to them about the different medical treatments that we might have options for in order to help us, we just sort of work on the assumption that that physician will give us what's their best advice given our situation. We don't think about it when we walk into the office that this person has a fiduciary relationship with us, but they do. Another example of a fiduciary relationship is a lawyer. Those are people that have a legal responsibility that way. Let's think about it from another perspective. Who might not have a fiduciary responsibility to us? When we go and we're shopping for something, let's say that we're shopping for a new car, and I go up to a place that's selling lots of different automobiles, and I start looking around at my different options. I expect that the salesman or salesperson who is helping me will give me very suitable advice. When I say I want a vehicle that meets X, Y, and Z criteria, I expect that they're going to steer me towards those kind of vehicles because that just makes good sense. They want me to be a satisfied customer, and I want to be able to get the things that I need. But if in the process of shopping around, I get excited about some extra gizmos that I can add on to my car, perhaps a sunroof or GPS system or fancy paint job, I don't expect the salesperson to say to me, now stop and think, Kathy, is this really what you wanted to spend your money on? Is this the best option for you? That's not their responsibility. They don't have a fiduciary responsibility to me. I expect that I have to keep that in mind. So again, different people have different legal responsibilities for us, and understanding whether somebody has a fiduciary responsibility or not can help us in the process when we're looking at different financial professionals. So, okay, you know that you want to talk to somebody who's a financial professional, and you've made your mind up to that, how can you really go and find somebody that's going to work out best for you? One of the first things that you want to do is that you want to ask questions. You need to find 2 or 3 different financial professionals that you think might meet your criteria and your needs, and request an interview with them. Often, people who are in the financial field are willing to meet with you for that initial discussion and not charge you. But you do need to ask that question too. What is the charge if we meet initially? And during the interview process, you'll have a chance to get to know them better, and they'll get to know you a little bit better. And you can figure out whether this financial professional is a good match for the needs that you have. And you'll be able to compare the person number 1 to person number 2 to person number 3, and to find out, really who is best for you. So what kinds of things would you want to ask in this interview process? It can be, what are the important criteria to think about? Well, let's think about it in sort of some general categories. First, you want to know about their experience and their credentials. And their credentials come down to, some of the different educational courses that they may have gone through that say that they are that they have the information and the knowledge that you need to help you out with your situation. And as I mentioned earlier in the present today, all these different credentials have different titles and different initials, and it can be very confusing. But we have a tool that you can use that can help you with that even before you get to the interview process. If you go to the Choosing a Financial Professional website by University of Illinois Extension, which is a free website, there's a chart there that you can download for free called Financial Credentials. And that chart is several different pages. It's a table, but what it has on there is really actually very helpful. What we've done is pulled together information about people's credentials in the financial professional field in just a really simple to read chart. So for example, let's say that you thought, my friend has a financial professional that she works with, and that person has these initials after her name, AFC. What does that mean, AFC? Well, if you go to the chart, you can look up the initials, AFC, and see that that stands for Accredited Financial Counselor, that the Association for Financial Counseling and Planning Education is the agency that gives out that accreditation. The people that work in this field often emphasize debt and money management. There are requirements to get these initials. You have to take courses with exams. You have to have 2 years of counseling experience. And you do have to subscribe to a particular code of ethics. So those are important things that you can find out just from looking at this chart. And then it often has information about where you can go to find out more about that credential. So I would encourage you that when you start going out there shopping around for a financial professional, that you take a look at this chart so you understand some of the background, maybe even before you go to interview somebody. But once you're talking to them, then you can really ask them also to further explain what kind of education they have, and think about whether the education and their expertise matches the services that you need. So for example, let's go back to thinking about if you needed tax help. Then you want to find a financial professional that has the tax expertise that you need. It could also be that you're really looking for somebody that would provide you with help managing your credit load. Well, then you wouldn't want a tax expert. You'd want somebody that has expertise in credit management. So different needs can be met best by different financial professionals. If you're looking for investment advice, then you want to make sure that the person that you're talking to has the right certifications and licenses to be giving you investment advice. Along the line of experience and credentials, you also might want to ask them about whether or not they're taking continuing education. The field of finance is always rapidly changing, new tax laws, new investments that come out that are available for people to utilize. You want to make sure that the person that you're working with is staying on top of that and getting new educational information all the time. Another very important characteristic that we might not initially think about is the personality of the person that you're talking to. You want to be sure that you are comfortable talking to this financial professional, that they have a style of conversation that works well for you. So when you ask them questions, that you're comfortable asking them questions, and if you don't understand their answer, that you can ask it again and get the answer explained in a little different way, so that you're not inhibited to ask questions, because this should really be something where you feel that you can have a dialogue going back and forth about your finances. What other kind of things might we want to know? Probably another very important question to ask a financial professional is, how are they paid? Different financial professionals are paid through different means. For example, fee-only financial professionals are paid by a flat fee. So when you go to them for a service, you will know ahead of time whether or not you're going to be charged by the hour for the work that you're asking them to do, perhaps by the task. Like if you ask them to create a financial plan for you based on some information that you've given them, they may tell you that that will cost X amount of dollars to do this plan. And sometimes fee-only financial planners do it by a % of the assets managed. If you've turned over your money to them to manage it in their investments, they may calculate that out by a % fee. Another way that financial professionals are paid is on a commission. And this income is based upon what you choose to buy. Some financial professionals go for a combination, both fees plus commission, and they might refer to that as fee offset or fee-based. The thing to remember is that it's important that you know how that person is being paid, and keep in mind that everybody does need to get paid, so there is a way that that's being calculated. When you talk to a financial professional, they should be able to tell you how your fees will be calculated, and it should be very clear to you up front what those costs will be. All right, so what else do you need to know? We talked about whether or not somebody had a fiduciary responsibility. We've talked about some general categories of questions that you can ask when you talk to a financial professional. But if you're like me, I always forget what it was I was going to ask when I go somewhere. If I don't write it down, for example, when I go to talk to a physician, I'm very likely to forget a question. And so again, another tool that we have for you on the Choosing a Financial Professional website is an interview guide. You can download this and print it out and take it with you when you go visit a financial professional. Now, every question on here might not fit your needs, and of course then you don't need to ask them, and there might be something that you want to add. But let's just take a quick look here and see what kind of questions are on here. One of the things that we suggest you ask people is, how long have you been offering advice to clients? It gives you an idea how long they've been in the field. And to describe their typical client. Now, why would we care what somebody's typical client is? Well, again, let's say that you're a 25-year-old person and that you're going to a financial professional and you say, what is your typical client? And that person says to you, well, my typical client is somebody who's 72 and we're working with managing how to pull income out of their savings and investments. Well, that might not be the best match for a 25-year-old. It would be a very good match for somebody who's retired. So a good question to just get a sense of what kind of people does this financial professional work with. We've talked about asking about experience in specific areas to make sure that that matches your needs, and talked about asking them questions about their educational qualifications, their licenses, certifications, and also continuing education. So those questions are there just to remind you. Again, important to ask. Even if it feels uncomfortable, I really encourage you to ask, how are they paid? And about how much will it cost for the services that you need. Another question to ask somebody is, what process do you follow to identify clients' goals? So yes, you need to know about that financial professional, but they need to know about you too before they can give you any help. They need to understand what your goals are, what your financial situation is, and how will they get that information from you? What is the process they use? And then once they've gotten that information, if they're working up a financial plan for you, how will they tailor their information to meet your needs? Will you receive a written plan and a recommendation, or will you not receive a written plan? For myself, I need to see it in writing. It helps me stay on track. Another question, if you're working with a financial professional who works within a larger office, might be, will I be meeting with you on a regular basis, or will I be meeting with an associate of yours? Perhaps if you're meeting with somebody, let's say every 2 to 3 months, then you're not going to see the same person you're interviewing all the time. That's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's just something you might like to know up front before you start doing business with them. And along those same lines, how many times do they expect that you will be meeting with them? It might be, if it's for something kind of once a year, like taxes, that you only meet once or twice a year. Or maybe if you're working on a financial plan, you're going to meet frequently to start out, and then just once a year to update. So what is the plan? How does that work for them? One of the other questions on here is, do you provide a written agreement, including fees and services to be provided? And if not, why not? I know from meetings that I have with different professionals that it really helps me to have it written down. It helps me remember what was said. I think it helps clarify communication so that what I'm hearing them say, I can make sure is written down, and that's what's going to happen. I really do think that having a written plan can help both parties stay on track and understand what the situation is. So seriously, when you go to hire a financial planner, think about comparing 2 or 3 before you make a choice. Take the time to set up appointments with them, have a conversation, ask questions that are important to you so that you get the information you need about a financial professional. All right, you may be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, this sounds all fine and good, but how do I find a financial professional to interview? Where do I start with that? Well, what you want to do is find somebody who's located in your geographic area so that it would be relatively convenient for you. And a lot of people start out by talking to friends and neighbors or family members who may have worked with a financial professional. And that's a good place to start. But keep in mind, just because it's the best financial professional for your cousin or your aunt, it doesn't mean that that's going to be the best person, the best match for you. But it's a good place to start. Another place that you can look is on online professional directories of financial professionals. And again, on our website, Choosing a Financial Professional, we have a list of 4 or 5 different online directories. And you can go in there and you can put down your zip code and how far you're willing to travel. Are you willing to travel 15 miles or 20 miles to visit with a financial professional? And then you will get a list of different financial professionals that belong to that association. The reason we have so many different directories is different financial professionals belong to different associations. And so you may need to go through these different directories to find people that are, that would be a good match for you and that would be close to where you live. Now, I have put in lots of different small town, big town, different zip codes, and can always seem to find several different financial professionals within a reasonable distance that somebody could potentially go out and interview. All right, so you found 2 or 3 that you could interview. You set up those interview appointments, go talk to them, keep track of your notes so you can go back and compare and contrast the different qualifications of the different people. That's all very good. Now there's one more step that we do want you to think about, and that is to make sure that they are registered with the Illinois Securities Department if they are giving you investment advice. To do that, you just call 1-800-628-7937 and just ask them to check on Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so and are they registered to be giving investment advice in Illinois. The reason why I think this is so important is that research has shown us that many of the people, if not most of the people, who do investment fraud have not registered in the state that they're doing it in. So this is just an excellent opportunity for you to just do that quick check to make sure that this person is legitimate and not just a con artist. Again, keep in mind that Just because this is a person that, is the nephew of a good friend of yours, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a qualified, legitimate person to go to for investment advice. People who do investment fraud are very good at it. They are very personable, and they may seem like a very good person to talk to. And I'm not trying to scare you off from talking to a financial professional in any way. I think that is a very important thing that we can all do. But just protect yourself by checking with the Illinois Securities Department to make sure that this is a person who should be doing business here in our state. So we've talked about a variety of different things today in terms of how we can go about locating and finding and choosing a financial professional. And it might not be something that you're ready to do today, may not be in a time in your life that you feel like that's important. But I would like you to keep it in mind as you hit those kind of big transitions in your life, whether you're combining incomes and assets when you get married, when you're planning for retirement, if you inherit or receive a large sum of money, if you're dealing with your own business. Those are really critical times to step back and think, what am I doing with my finances, and should I be making a financial plan that would help me achieve my goals? And when you are at that point, then take the time to talk to 2 or 3 different financial professionals at least to make sure that you find somebody that's a good match for you, that has the education, the experience, and the credentials to provide the services that you need, and those very specific personal services that you need. And then do your homework and look at their different criteria. Think about who you want to go with, and by the time you've interviewed 2 or 3 people, I think you'll have a pretty good sense of who is the best match for you and what would make the most sense. I would encourage you to go to the University of Illinois Extension Choosing a Financial Professional website to review the things that we talked about today. This information is there, as well as different tools that are available to you for free. We have the interview guide that you can download and print out to take with you when you have those conversations with financial professionals. And we also have the credential tool, which will let you take a quick look at what all these initials and titles that people use are. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope that this has given you some things to think about and action that you may take when choosing a financial professional to help you with your finances.